And I just wonder how you feel about, what happened at the weekend. Our welterweight contender, Conor Benn, won very dramatic fashion against Samuel Vargas. It was a great win, a career best win for a 24-year-old son of a legend, who's coming up, making all the right noises, but it's small steps. All of a sudden, we're all getting very, very carried away for good reason. His father called you out. Sort of said, I want my son to box Shawn Porter next.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that.
We talked about this on the podcast as well. So you have to listen to the podcast. Quarterweight podcast drops every Tuesday. Let me first say this. I have to say that, and you guys will correct me if I'm wrong. I think that from former world champions, their sons to turn pro and kind of follow in their footsteps. I haven't seen one do it better than he's doing it right now. And I don't know if there has been one in history to do it. Obviously, when we look at Layla following in her dad's footsteps, she did a phenomenal job, but I haven't seen very many men do it. So I can't speak to that. I do think that most times that we've seen a son of a champion box as a professional, it doesn't really look the same. We saw what's his name? His son fought just Ricky Hatton. We saw Ricky Hatton.
Campbell Hatton.
Yeah, we saw Campbell Hatton just a few weeks ago. It's kind of like night and day with him and Dad, So just to kind of piggyback off of what I'm saying about Conor Benn. So he looks very good. He goes in there and wipes out Vargas in less than 2 minutes, I think it was. When you or right around that, when you do something like that, you're full of energy, you're full of adrenaline, and you feel very good about everything you can do in the boxing game. Was he 18-0 right now?
Yes, correct.
He's 18-0 right now. What I say is take your time. I don't know how much he's been. I don't know how involved he's been in boxing up until turning pro. But
I can tell you, he had a very, very limited amateur career. He had a couple of fights in Australia where Nigel brought him up for the very first period of his life.
I do know that he fought in Australia too. So,
but not to any degree, not to any level. We almost think of his amateur career as non-existent without doing it down, without being disrespectful to him.
Of course, yeah, and I don't want to be disrespectful at all. He's got to take his time. He's got to understand that he was in the ring with somebody who he outmatched. You want to be in the ring with a guy who's going to take you some rounds. And this is what I say about that. No fighter wants to go rounds. If we had it our way, every fight would end the way that Conor Benn's fight ended. However, when you get in the ring with somebody who's able to take you 5 rounds, 7 rounds, 9 rounds, you get to find out some things about yourself. You get to grow in the ring in the moment. That's why a fighter needs to go rounds. It's not so that you can find out whether or not you can get knocked down and get up and keep fighting. It's not so that you can find out, oh, I got cut, I fought through the cut, let me show everybody that I fought. We don't want anything like that to happen. However, you learn things when somebody challenges you. So when you get challenged to go 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, and eventually 12 rounds, that's when you can say, okay, I'm ready for Showtime Shawn Porter. I'm ready for Errol Spence Jr. I'm ready for Amir Khan. I'm ready for Kell Brook. But when you're getting in the ring and you're blazing through guys in a round or two, it's great. It looks phenomenal, but you really don't know. You can use that and say, I'm just going to blow right through those guys, but nobody blows through Shawn Porter. Nobody blows through Kell Brook. Nobody blows through Errol Spence Jr. So when that doesn't happen, you need to know that you got some other tools in your toolbox, and you can go to those things to weather whatever storm that we're going to bring you. And that's what I say when, and Nigel Benn says, my son's ready for Shawn Porter. My son's ready for world championship contention. Has he been through things yet in the ring? And if he hasn't grown enough yet in the boxing ring as a professional, he certainly did not do it as an amateur, like the guys Virgil Ortiz, Jerron Ennis. Those guys have been through the amateur program. They know all about it. It's only a matter of time before they get to the big time. But when they get to the big time, they got a lot to reflect on, a lot that they've learned from. And I don't think that Conor Benn has been able to do the same things to get to the point that he's at right now. And I think that he still's got some growing to do.
Barry, taking it as a single entity, though, that was so impressive from Conor Benn in what was expected to be a very, very tough test. It was his toughest test on paper.
It was, yeah. I don't think he was in any danger of losing. No, he was, of course, but I think he was always favoured to win. But how you win, because Vargas could have made it hard for him. And Shawn was saying that was the test where potentially he was dragged into the rounds where some of the punches didn't have the effect, and he would have made it a hard, grueling fight for him. But he jumped on him. He didn't give him an opportunity to do that, and he finished it really early, and it's impressive. And that's a more impressive display. But the Formella win is still, for me, that made me sit up more because he had to box against Formella, and he boxed so bad. Like before the Formella fight, I was still unsure where Conor was going to be headed. To be fair, because he had no test. He blasted through everyone. Didn't look great, but looked good. But against Formella, he showed that he could box as well as just tear people apart. And I thought that was the more prominent win, where you could see actually this kid has got plenty of potential. And then the Vargas win on top of that just builds up the train of how he's going to progress and going on for bigger things.
Barry, Shawn, I know you want to come in there, but Barry, very quickly, any issues with the stoppage at all? Vargas wasn't too happy, but if anything, when your head is rocking and rolling around like that, you give the referee very little option but to stop it.
But that's just a fighter's pride, and we all do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't get stopped, he takes 4 or 5 more punches, and then he gets stopped. I think that's how it is, to be fair. It's just one of those things. He didn't get a chance. He's frustrated. He didn't get a chance to get into the fight. He got jumped on early. He got caught cold, and so that's why he was arguing. But I don't think there was nothing wrong with the stoppage for me.
All I will say
Shawn, you wanted to come in there. Sorry, Shawn.
Only thing I will say about that is I do not come to the ring cold. I will say about that.
Yeah, I think that you could say that, like he just didn't get into the fight at all, did he? But I don't. That sounds like I'm taking something away from Conor Benn. It was phenomenal.
We cannot take anything from Conor Benn. I mean, when you come out blazing like that, you catch a guy with a punch, you finish the job. I mean, he did what he's supposed to do. Now let's go on the other side of that. How many guys have we seen not be able to finish a fighter? So he did exactly what he was supposed to do. But at the same time, I am at world championship level. I've been there I've been there since 2013. I've been there since 2013. You know what I mean? So I got 8 years at the world championship level, and I just can't say, with 18 fights and, I don't think probably hasn't been in a pro half that time, has he?
No, exactly right. 2016, I think I've got it in front of me.
What he has shown though is an adaptability to learn on the job, and especially
my lord, his rate of progress, Barry.
In the last sort of 4 fights, he's progressed so much, so impressively, like from where he was to where he is now, that you can see why he's excited, why his trainer and certainly his dad are getting maybe carried away because the learning curve has been steep, and he's been producing the goods every time. So you can understand why they're on a roll and why they have confidence in his ability. But yeah, I think you're right. I think bad thing, but actually maybe getting in the ring with you right now, it wouldn't be a great idea if I was looking after him. But I think you start calling you big names out early. It gets attention, and then you have. But the problem he has with that division is Ortiz. Ennis, all the guys just below you guys are all very good. So it's always been historically one of the hardest divisions, and in this generation it still is, unfortunately.
Well, listen,
Shawn, can I just ask Shawn if the phone rang? I don't think that it is going to. And is there any reason why you would fight someone like Conor Benn without a world title on the line? Yeah,
no, there really isn't. I don't think that there's much to gain for me, and I'm not really one for, what do they call that? Risk to reward. I'm not really one for that, but I do think that right here in this particular situation, something that not very many people understand, especially the fighters, they don't really understand the business of boxing. And we'll keep it right there. The business of boxing says 8 years at world championship level contention does not get in the ring with 5 years of boxing professionally. There's no comparison there. And so, you know, I think that, you know, if the phone what were to ring, I don't foresee it happening, but I think if it were to ring, we would kind of lean with that right there. Like, hey, you know, we've been fighting for world championship titles since 2013. Every fight's been a world championship level fight for me since then, and you know, this isn't quite that. So that's it.
Question to the
John?
Sorry, Barry, I've got to get this one in because I'm going to lose. We're going to lose Shawn in about 5 minutes. Amir Khan, Barry, I can catch up with you in part 2. So, Shawn, Amir Khan, what do you think's going on there? Amir Khan was the first name off of the list for Conor Benn. It's a passing of the torch fight, but at the same time, Amir Khan is one of the best that we've ever had out of Britain. I think at 24 he was fighting Marcus Maidana. Is it? Are we disrespecting Amir Khan by mentioning that, or is this just how boxing goes? You know, he is at the final part of his career, and Conor Benn's on the way up. Could it happen? Would it happen? What would you do if you're Amir Khan?
Yeah, I can tell you what Amir Khan's not going to do. I think Amir Khan will I think Amir would do the exact same thing that I just did, basically saying, hey, I'm a world championship level fighter. I've been fighting there for X amount of years. I think the difference between myself and Amir Khan is you have not really seen me drop the ball. When you kick the ball at me, I'm gonna continue dribbling until it's time to kick the goal. And the few times I've missed a goal, those have been very close fights, very relevant fights against the best. The difference with that and Amir Khan is he's been knocked out. He's been dropped. He's dropped the ball, I think now 5 times. I think he has 5 losses, and those are all big losses, you know. So that's the big difference there. The thing that Khan is not going to do, Khan is not going to allow himself to fall into a gatekeeper type of situation where guys think that they're going to use his name to get to the next level. I think that he's too smart for that. I think he's too business savvy for that. And I think that he's done enough now in this sport to say, hey, if I'm not going to fight one of the big dogs, then I'm just not going to fight anybody at all. So I actually would see him not fighting anyone at all before he's willing to get in the ring with Conor Benn. However, again, when we talk about passing the torch, I think that this is the prime opportunity right now for that situation to arise where you got Conor Benn getting in the ring with Amir Khan and kind of, you know, for the sake of words, this is that fight where he's going to fight a world championship level fighter, a guy who's been in the ring with the who's of fighting, and now he's going to pass the torch. Unfortunately, we have to say that about Amir, but this will be a situation where everybody who's behind Conor Benn are looking for him, for Amir to kind of say, you know, how many rounds is this going to go? And once we're done with this guy, now we're going to fight for a world championship title.